Our lesson today is tour guiding. We looked at tourism industry. Today is tour guiding. What is tour guiding? Working as a tour guide can be a great way to meet new people, travel, share incredible experiences, and learn more about a culture or place. If you like to meet new people, if you like new experiences, if you don't like that boring life where every day is predictable, then you're in the right place to be a tour guide. Becoming a tour guide is often an educational and rewarding experience. Why? Because you see very many places, you go to different sites, you learn about the history of that place, you get to meet people also who share different histories, cultures, and ways of life. So you really learn a lot. It's really educational. So there are many guiding opportunities available that can suit a variety of interests and skills. In this lesson, what do we learn? What a tour guide does, guide types, working conditions, necessary skill, salary expectations. These salary expectations might not be Kenyan, but these are international. So we get to know that. What is a tour guide? These are members of the hospitality and travel industry who show visitors around places of interest. That's what you're going to be doing. You'll show visitors places of interest, and you are cultural tourists, so you'll be at your home place and you'll show visitors or tourists when they come around your place. Like if you're in from Nyache, you can show them Gangao Forest. You can take them to Funju where they see Mount Kilimanjaro. You can also show them what the people do during the day, where they get their water, all those interesting things that visitors might want. Cultural tourism is becoming very attractive and famous. So you are in the right place. Tour guides may lead groups or individuals through historical sites, museum, geographic destination, and on outdoors excursion. So what does a tour guide need? He needs to possess relevant cultural, historical, and practical knowledge they can share with tourists. So we'll be going out there. First, we learn about the product. For example, we learn about Lake Dipel or Lake Chala. We know what are some of the things it was used for by the Germans for World War One. But first, we even have to know how deep is it. It's a crater lake. We have to know the waters are coming from Kilimanjaro. So you got to know all that. Then that's really like the geographic, then the cultural, and that's where we're talking about World War One. We'll even see the bunkers that they made, and you want to bring the place alive. You can actually say 1914, there was a lot of activity around this lake. They used to use it for water, but also it was also a place where the Germans were camping, the Schutztruppe, so to speak. What are the personality traits needed for a tour guide? Important communication skills. This is needed for everybody, but for a tour guide, very essential. You got to be fluent, you got to think on your feet, you got to be a good listener, you got to have a body language that shows you are approachable. Okay? It's essential you can communicate information effectively to ensure visitors fully comprehend the historical or cultural importance of various sites. So you've got to have a good memory. So part of this class will be practicing that. This is a laboratory also where we'll actually be able to stand up, present. If we going to JIPE, I'll want you to have known JIPE inside out. We'll go on the site and you'll practice so that by the time we finish the class, you already have the skill set. It's not a theoretical class. It's actually more practical than theory, maybe 75 practical, 25 theory. Emotional intelligence, paying attention to guest reaction and promptly addressing their questions and requirements. So you got to be sensitive. Organization, you need good organization, time management. In Kenya, in Taita, in Africa, we actually manufacture time. You need to start becoming punctual. You don't want visitors to come at the airport and you come 1 hour late. You need to be 1 hour early. So organization. And you also have to be prepared. Before you go for a trip, go through it in your mind. Don't just go through a trip like you're going to have a day out there at Savo West. You want to just put it in your mind so that it becomes your second nature. We'll get to the gate, then we'll see a lion, we'll go to Mzima, we'll go to Shetani Lava, we'll go eat at Kilaguni. From there, then we go to Hippo Point. You want to go through that video so that it really becomes natural. Adaptability. Adaptability is the ability to adjust behaviors, thoughts, and actions to new, changing, or uncertain environments. Of course, when you are up there in the safari, you never know what might happen. There might be anything happening, from attack by an elephant to just some surprise when a lion is even hunting. So be adaptable, or somebody in your group actually gets a fainting spell. You have to be ready to do first aid. That's why we want to do that course in first aid. So adaptability means you can be able to adjust, and punctuality. I've talked about this on manufacture time. Be able to be there before. Always think about being at a place 15 minutes before. If you're traveling by or going out for safari, be at the vehicle 15 minutes earlier so that the visitors can find you already there. Knowledge and expertise, you've got to know the product. If it's like Jipe, know it inside out. If it's Kenyatta Caves, know inside out. If it is Ngangao Forest, just know it inside out. If you're going to be imparting knowledge of a particular place, you need to know your stuff. Yes. Much of what you need to know can be studied, while some you pick as you work. The kind of expertise you need to build includes comprehensive understanding of the geography, culture, history, and architecture of destinations. So those are geography, culture, history, and architecture of destinations. Knowledge of green tourist activities, speaking several languages. This is enormously expands your potential audience. That's why we are going to offer German classes. If you are interested, let me know. We are going to offer them online, and it's going to cost you a little bit. But knowing another language, you expand your horizon. What are the categories of tour guides? Essentially, it's divided into these local tour guides and international tour guides. Those are the big two categories, right? Local tour guides, what do they do? Local guiding is a challenge and an opportunity. To excel at being a local tour guide, you need to possess specialist knowledge of a locale and its historical sites, eateries only locals know, and cultural attractions tucked away in back streets. Because, yeah, some very interesting places can be behind. Like in Voi, if you go to Kariako, that is where there was World War One camp those days. That's why it's called Kariako. It comes from the word carrier corps. Carrier corps are the ones that were carrying goods. They didn't fight, but they carried goods, and they carried goods on their back. So some key tips for local tour guides. You're a local tour guide, really. Organize attraction visits outside peak times and rush hours. Recommend food destination. Provide tips about shopping destination for local goods. Like Voi, you want to take them to the market. If you are in Mombasa, you want to take them maybe to Kongowea, in Nairobi, Gikomba, but you also have to look at safety. So it's important to look at those. What about international tour guides? These are professionals who are experienced travelers and have acquired comprehensive knowledge. So you know different countries, or different locales within and without your continent. Okay. As with local guiding, you'll deliver compelling stories filled with details related to the history or culture of visited locations. There are additional requirements for handling international tours, such as possessing proficiency in multiple language. Yeah, if you're going to Latin America or South America, it's good you know Spanish. If you are going to Europe, it's good to some of the languages. There's the Germans there's the French, there is also Polish, Finnish. Okay, you might not know all, but you need to know a couple. I mean, just knowing English and your mother tongue is not enough if you want to be an international tour guide. But even here, a local tour guide, add another language. English is only one. If you know German, then you'll have a bigger audience, which you'll actually have more opportunities to work. What does a tour guide do? Tour guides provide many services. Their responsibility depend on type of tour guide they are, all right? So what do they do? Entertaining guests, answering questions, sharing relevant information to the groups or individuals they are guiding. Tour guides create meaningful experiences, connecting tourists with their surroundings. So you want to make the place alive. If you go to Salaita, don't just give the facts. Make the place alive. 100 years ago here, there was cannon fire, there was a lot of noise, there was a lot of smoke. People were killing each other because it was the battle between the British and the Germans. And you make the place alive. Don't just talk about the facts that the Germans were fighting the British. No. Tour guides handle the tourism experience from start to finish, including planning. So planning is done even before the trip. And planning, to me, I think is the most important. If you don't plan, then you plan to fail. Or if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So plan. Leading, you have to be the lead. Communicating closely with clients, that's also part of your responsibility. Learning is one. Usually tour guides possess substantial knowledge about a destination, time, period, or activity. So when there are no visitors, you need to get to the books, get to the internet, learn places, be knowledgeable, right? A guide may have a personal interest in the subject, but their employer might request they complete a formal training to help them gather information that they may interest or benefit tourists. That's why we are taking this class. That's why we'll go out for trips. We'll go to Mactau, we'll go to Jipe, we'll go to Chala, we'll go to Ngangao, we'll go to Buria, so that you get this information on the ground. So the class, as I said, 75% practical, 25% is theory. What does a tour guide do again? Number two, greetings and welcoming visitors or guests, regardless of how long the tour lasts. Most guides strive to connect with their guests, and usually it starts with the welcoming. The first 5 seconds, the visitors might judge: are you approachable? Are you a good tour guide? Are you friendly? So it's very, very important to greet and greet with a smile. Just, it shows. Three, explaining safety procedures. Safety is key. And that's why you need to take this course of first aid, because it helps us, or it helps you to have the skills. First and foremost, safety. You want to go and come back in one piece. You want to take your visitors and come back in one piece with them. So if you're leading an expedition, traveling in an unsafe area, or guiding from a vehicle, take a moment to brief guests on any condition they need to be aware of. Especially, for example, if you're going to Mzima, they'll have to get out their animals. You have to wait for the ranger, and they have to walk closely. You don't want to leave anyone behind. The same thing if you go to Lugard Falls, there are crocodiles. You have to tell them not to get too close to the river. So you have to provide materials, contain learning materials, brochure, maps, audio recordings. Other may require specialized gear. Like, for example, if you're going mountain climbing, or you're going to rock climbing, you need special gear. If you're going cycling, you need the bicycle. Responding to guest needs, that's another one. So you have to be listener, and you don't listen only with your ears, you listen with your whole body. You have to show that you're keen in listening. Eye contact, your body posture should be straight. You should not be distracted by a telephone. Give them your maximum, or be, as I said, approachable. Don't have a face that looks like a fox or a hyena. You want to be a smiley person. For the duration of the tour, guides may be responsible for the comfort and well-being of the guests, making necessary accommodations, responding to first aid emergencies. See that? First aid emergencies, addressing guests' concern. So you have to also check your first aid kit when you are in the bus. That's why we really emphasize you take the first aid course. Things like headaches. You need to know paracetamol helps. You need to know what happens if somebody gets a laceration. Those are very important. Okay, you are leading tour. Remember, you are the main person there. You're the one who takes them. They don't know the place. So you really need to be the lead. There's no gap that should be there. You're not on holiday. You're working. A major responsibility of working as a guide is leading groups and individuals on tour. This includes sharing facts, bringing the culture and the history of a place to life. So effective communication. You see, communication is coming up all the time. Communication, communication. You have verbal communication, which is essential, but even the non-verbal, your body language shows. Are you interested? Are you owning what you're saying? Or it's like you're detached from it. Guiding tour, as the name implies, this may require guides to have the route mapped out beforehand and for them to share facts. So you need to have your route already. You need to know where you're going. You need to know how safe it is. You need to know where there's a trail, and be prepared. It's all about preparation. Planning tours and itineraries. This one is what The chairman, Livingstone Mgenyi, will be teaching you. He's been in the tour industry for about 3 decades. So how do you plan an itinerary? This is a key task that demands meticulous attention to detail. The focus is on crafting a seamless experience for clients, considering factors such as timing and accessibility. So you have to know, if you're taking them to Taveta, do you start with Mactau first, you see the graves, or do you go to Taveta first? And you have to see how close is the places that they're going and the timing. So they are land there, they go to Chala maybe because it's far, then they start coming back, they come to Maho Church, they go to where there was the old police station. Planning an itinerary is quite a task. You've got to think and see the timing so that you have time management, so that you don't waste time. You want to be effective and efficient. Skillful itinerary design helps ensure memorable experiences for guests. So you don't want to take them to the war graves and then you quickly take them to a place that's very different. Maybe you take them to a nightclub. No, you want to make sure they actually are more or less the same, whatever you're doing. So you take them to the World War One graves, you take them to Salaita, which is also Slaughter Hill, you take them to Maho Church, where they see those dikes that were built there, and so on, right? Some tour guides, some tours require guides to purchase ticket, make reservation, and work within time constraints. So remember, if there are tickets to be bought, make that early so that you're ready. Translating, and that's why if you learn many languages, then you might not need this. But if you don't, then it's important you have this translation system. Though not always a requirement for guides working in a foreign country, it can be helpful to know the local language, right? Some guiding jobs may require guides to be bilingual, so they can explain written communication, interact with locals, communicate with a variety of customers. I can see how this other thing of another second foreign language is coming up. And that's why I'm saying sign up for the German classes. They'll be online. Sign up for the German classes. It's only 4,500 for a course. So, and that there's A1, A2. And if you need more explanation, let me know. Historical guide, what are the kinds of guides working all over the world? Historical guide, I'll go through this pretty quickly. You can actually look at, it's very clear. Historical means you go into historical landmarks, okay, ruins, temples, battlefields. There is adventure guide, rock climbing, river guides, okay. There is adventure guide still continues. You can see there are hiking guides, that's adventure still, it falls under there. Snow mobile guides, we don't have snow here, but out there is snow, and there is like a piki that you actually ride on snow. Pretty interesting, I guess. Trail riding guides, okay, local for a scenic adventure. They can load on a horse and they go around seeing. They can also take a bicycle. Fishing guides, there are those who want to go fishing. Maybe they want to go fishing in Lake Jipe or Lake Chala here. And safety, of course, is important. And I'll say Jipe and Chala, they've really not catered it yet for visitors. The locals do actually fish, and maybe it's something the county needs to actually look into. Or you can take them to Mombasa. We're close to Mombasa if they want fishing. So there's fishing guides. And this you learn on the internet. Learn about what is fishing. You don't have to wait until you get this in class. Okay, ATV guides, these are all-terrain vehicles. We don't have them here, but we can introduce them. We have hills here. We have rough terrain, especially in Taita Hills. This could also be an adventure. So learning about it doesn't mean that, because it's not there, doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn. There might be an investor coming, and if you already have the knowledge, then you're good to go. You'll be the one employed. City guide, we have Voi, we have Taveta, and even you're taking them to Mombasa. Okay? Give tours of a city on bikes, buses, rickshaws. Here we have tuk-tuks in Mombasa. We have also Boda Boda, which is also bikes. City guides may point out historical or cultural sites, restaurants or bars, or architectural points of interest. So that's a city guide. It's usually a city guide is very familiar with the city where they work, so they're able to share information with the tourists. You have to be very familiar, and that's why When you don't have visitors, walk around, know your city more, know your town more, know Mombasa more. Okay, park guide. These are in the zoos, state parks, national parks like Tsavo, and this might be a bit challenging, but it can also be done. It's about interest. It's about being able to take initiative where you can go to the park, or you can even befriend the KWS so that they can tell you about the park, and then later you can visit. It will be one of those things where you take initiative because the class is only 3 months. We cannot do everything. So you have to decide also what really interests you. Museum guide. We have a museum coming up in Mactau. I don't know whether you know that. I want you to be curious and look at it up. But the other museum is in Mombasa. There's a museum in Mombasa. There's a museum, Taita Hills of the World War One, small museum. There's a museum, the main one in Nairobi. And when you are a museum guide, you're giving them background knowledge on exhibits, works of art, artifacts. Museum is where they store things of the old, like the man-eater lions that terrorized the building of railway here in Savo. They're actually in Chicago Field Museum. I saw them when I was studying in the US. I went to Chicago and I saw those. I think it's one of the things that we need to ask the American government to bring back our lions. They're actually ours. During colonialism, many colonists robbed our museum. Then there's nature guide, like going to Ngangao. If you like trees, you like birds, you like herbs, you like shrubs. Okay, guides usually guide tourists through outdoor areas of interest, typically less extreme than adventure guides. Nature guides might lead walking or hiking tours through wilderness, focusing on subjects like geology, oceanology. What is oceanology? Check that one out. And ecology. Of course, nature walk has also its challenges. There might be animals, there might be snakes, there might be bugs. So all those things you need to be very knowledgeable about. What are some of the dangers? Freelance guide. So you need to check what you want to do. Sometimes individual may choose to offer their guiding services independently rather than representing a business, museum, or location. So you can be, a jack of all trades. You might not be very good, but well, you expand your horizon. If they want a city tour, you are there. If they want a museum tour, you are there. If they want a nature, you are there. That's a freelance guide. What's the work environment of a tour guide? As you expect, the tour guiding working environment varies significantly depending upon the location and type of tour led by the guide. Tour guides can expect to spend a lot of their day moving, speaking, interacting with guests, researching their position to improve their knowledge, and such like things. Most guide jobs require high levels of physical stamina and energy. So you really need to be fit. You need to know you're going to be talking. You're going to be out there maybe 8 to 10 hours. It is a taxing job. So you have to have passion. You have to really like this to be doing it. If it's your grandmother who brought you here, then you have to think twice. If it is your mother who's pushing you, then you have to think twice. Hours and schedule. Tour guiding can be exhilarating career choice with new adventures around every corner, but the hours are crazy. You'll work for long. That's basically what it means there. Okay? Your job schedule will largely depend on the time of tours you conduct. There's no standard 9 to 5 routine. Okay? Not that the jobs that you do, you got from 9 and by 5 you leave. Career path and progression for a tour guide. The path to becoming a tour guide could start with qualification or through being a junior guide. Like now, we're giving you this qualification. Once you start with this basic, then you work your way up. And it's all about reading, interacting, practicing. Okay, tour guides may venture into alternative professions, travel advisor, destination marketer, and so on. Current opportunities for tour guides. There are great opportunities for tour guides. Okay, there's apprenticeship. You can learn on the job. That's apprenticeship. You can take a course like the one you're taking. And what are the salaries? These are internationals, as I said. Okay, let's just look at the figure. We're talking about 28,312 per year. Do the calculation. But that, as I said, is international. Okay, that's tour guiding for you.